Lena had only wanted a quiet weekend. Life at college had been loud, stressful, and far too crowded. Every day felt like someone needed her attention, and every night she fought to finish assignments that never seemed to end. So when her friends invited her to a camping trip at Apache Ridge, she said yes without thinking twice. She imagined fresh air, tall trees, and silence, something her tired mind desperately needed. When they reached the campsite, the others immediately unpacked food, drinks, and speakers. Music started playing, and laughter filled the forest. Lena smiled, but her body felt heavy, as if the noise was pushing her down instead of lifting her. After a little while, she quietly slipped away to find a peaceful spot near the lake. The lake at Apache Ridge was beautiful. Clear water, tall pine trees, smooth stones along the edge. Everything looked untouched and calm. Lena walked along the trail until she found a place hidden from the main path. She sat on a rock and let the breeze wash over her face. The air smelled like pine and earth, and for the first time in days, she felt her shoulders loosen. After a few minutes, she dipped her hand in the cool water and smiled. It felt refreshing, and without thinking too much about it, she decided she wanted to take a short swim. She checked around carefully. No one was in sight. The trees stood tall, forming a quiet, protective wall around her. She took a deep breath, neatly folded her clothes on the rock, and stepped into the water. The lake wrapped around her like a soft blanket. She floated for a while, listening only to the gentle ripples and the distant calls of birds. The sunlight shimmered on the surface, and she felt her worries slowly melt away. This was exactly what she needed. A moment to breathe, alone, and peaceful. After a few minutes, she swam back toward the shore, feeling relaxed and lighter. But the moment she stepped close enough to see her things clearly, her heart jumped. Her clothes were gone. She blinked once, twice, thinking maybe she had placed them somewhere else. But no, her towel was still there, lying messily, as if someone had moved it. Her folded clothes, however, were nowhere to be seen. At first, she thought maybe an animal had taken them. But what animal takes clothes? That didn't even make sense. A small wave of panic hit her chest. She looked around quickly, her eyes scanning the trees, the rocks, the narrow path she came from. And then she saw him. A man was standing a few feet away, half hidden by the trees. He wasn't trying to sneak or hide. He stood tall and steady, watching her with calm, steady eyes. His posture was relaxed, as if he belonged to the forest just as much as the trees did. His dark hair fell over his forehead, and his skin carried the warm tone of someone who spent most of his time outdoors. Over his shoulder, her clothes, Lena's face warmed with shock. She stayed waist-deep in the water, gripping her towel in her hands. The man stepped out from the shadows, revealing more of himself. He wore a simple forest green shirt, hiking boots, and a leather cord around his neck. His expression wasn't threatening, just amused, as if he was witnessing something slightly humorous. "Return my clothes," Lena shouted before she could stop herself. Her voice bounced across the lake, louder than she intended. The man raised an eyebrow, and a slow grin spread across his face. His tone wasn't cruel or mocking. It was more like a challenge, spoken softly, with a hint of playfulness. But to Lena, standing half hidden in the water with her heart racing, it felt unbelievable. She stared at him, unable to process how someone could walk in, pick up a stranger's things, and respond with a grin like that. "Why would you take them?" she demanded. He crossed his arms, the clothes still hanging casually from one hand. "Nobody leaves their clothes folded like that," she shot back. His grin widened. Fair point. Lena didn't know what to make of him. He didn't look dangerous, but he didn't look ordinary either. There was something strong and steady about him, like someone who knew the land well and wasn't afraid of anything in it. She lifted her chin. "Well, now that you know they're not abandoned, give them back." He tilted his head slightly, studying her. I will. But only if you come and take them. Lena clenched her jaw. She wasn't in danger, her instincts told her that clearly. But she was embarrassed, frustrated, and entirely unprepared for such a situation. She stayed firmly in the water, wishing she had chosen any other spot on the entire lake. Just put them down and walk away, she said, trying to sound calm. He shook his head. If I put them down, they might fall in the dirt or the water. You wouldn't want that. He spoke, as if he was doing her a favor. So, hand them to me, and then walk away. Can't, he replied lightly. You're in the lake. Lena closed her eyes for a moment. She felt like the universe was testing her patience. She tried a different approach. Who are you? Aiden Greyhawk, he answered easily. People around here call me the Alpha Apache. Lena had heard the name before. Her friends mentioned him last night while laughing about local legends. They said he ran wilderness tours, helped lost hikers, and knew every inch of Apache Ridge better than the forest rangers themselves. They also said he had a strong personality and a habit of teasing people just to see how they reacted. She didn't expect to meet him like this. So you're the one who guides camping groups? She asked carefully. That's me. He lifted her clothes slightly. And right now, I'm helping you keep these safe. That's not helping, Lena said sharply. That's the opposite of helping. Aiden laughed softly, not unkindly. You look stressed. This seemed like a good way to get your attention. My attention was not up for grabs. He shrugged. Everything out here is unpredictable. That's part of the experience. Lena took a deep breath, trying to calm the frustration rising in her chest. Can we please handle this like normal people? I am handling it normally, he replied. You want your clothes. I want you to come out here and get them. Fair exchange. That's not fair at all. He softened his expression slightly, as if recognizing that he might be pushing too far. I'm not trying to upset you, he said, in a quieter voice. I really did think these were left behind at first. I only kept them so they wouldn't get wet. Then you should have put them back. Maybe, he admitted. But then I saw you were still in the water, and I figured I'd wait. Why wait? He shrugged again. Didn't want to startle you. Lena's frustration wavered just a little. His words made sense, even if his attitude didn't. But she still wasn't going to step out of the water while he was standing there with her clothes. She tried another strategy. Look, I'm cold. I'm tired. And my friends are expecting me. Please just set them down and turn around. Aiden's eyes flickered with something thoughtful. He wasn't trying to be cruel. He seemed amused. Yes, but also curious, like he wanted to understand her reaction. He walked a few steps closer, stopping at the edge of the lake. Tell you what, he said. I'll make a deal with you. I don't want a deal. You haven't heard it yet, he said with a small smile. If you step out and talk to me for just a minute, just 1 minute, I'll hand your clothes back. No questions asked. Lena stared at him. His expression wasn't mocking anymore. He looked calm, confident, and oddly sincere. She didn't trust his plan, but she also didn't want to stand in the lake forever. Lena stood still for a moment, letting the cool lake water swirl around her legs. Her mind was racing. She didn't want to step out in front of a complete stranger who had taken her clothes, even if he claimed it was harmless. But she also didn't want to stay in the water forever. Her towel floated lightly beside her, the only thing she could use to cover herself. She breathed in deeply and wrapped it around her as tightly as she could. Aiden waited patiently at the edge of the lake, holding her clothes carefully as if they were valuable. His posture was relaxed, and his expression had softened compared to earlier. There was no grin now, only quiet curiosity. He looked like someone used to being in control of situations, but also like someone who didn't want to cause real harm. After a long pause, Lena took a small step forward, then another. The water lowered around her waist, then her hips, and soon she stood close to the edge. She stayed a few feet away from him, clutching the towel with both hands. "Happy now?" she asked, her voice shaky but brave. Aiden looked her in the eye and answered gently, "I'm not here to trouble you. I just wanted a chance to talk, that's all." Lena frowned. "There are better ways to start a conversation." "That's true," he admitted. "And I'm sorry. It wasn't my best idea." She blinked in surprise. An apology was the last thing she expected. It didn't erase her embarrassment, but it eased the tension just a little. "Can I have my clothes now?" she asked quietly. Aiden nodded, but didn't hand them over immediately. Instead, he said, "I'll give them to you. I promise. But can I ask you something first?" Lena hesitated. She didn't want a long conversation in this uncomfortable position, but she could see that he wasn't trying to push her. He seemed genuinely interested, maybe too interested, but not in a troubling way. More like someone who had noticed something others had missed. "What do you want to ask?" she said softly. Aiden studied her face for a moment before speaking. "Why did you look sad earlier when you came to the lake?" Lena's breath caught. She hadn't even known anyone was around when she arrived, and she definitely hadn't expected anyone to notice her emotions. "I wasn't sad," she said quickly. He raised an eyebrow. "You were. Something was weighing on you." Lena looked away. Her grip on the towel tightened. She didn't want to share her problems with a stranger, especially one who had already caused her trouble. But at the same time, something about his voice felt steady and calm, like someone who might actually listen. "It's nothing important," she murmured. Aiden shook his head lightly. "Everything that makes you feel heavy is important." Lena didn't respond. She didn't know how to. Aiden lowered his hand slowly, offering her clothes without any teasing expression this time. "Here," he said quietly. "Take them. Take them. Take them." She stepped forward and took them carefully, making sure the towel stayed in place. Relief washed through her as she clutched the bundle of fabric. Part of her wanted to run right back to her friends. Another part wanted to understand why this strange man had approached her in such a complicated way. "Thank you," she said, her voice softer than before. "I'll go change." She turned to leave, but Aiden spoke again, this time in a more sincere, almost gentle tone. "I didn't mean to upset you." "Truly." Lena paused but didn't turn around. "Then why did you do it?" Aiden sighed quietly. "I guess I wanted to distract you. You looked like you needed something to pull you out of your thoughts." "That didn't mean you had to take my clothes," she said, finally glancing back at him. "I know," he admitted, "but I saw you were alone and upset, and I didn't know how else to approach you without startling you. I made the wrong call." Say, his honesty surprised her. She expected excuses or jokes, but instead, she got sincerity. It softened her frustration, though she didn't want to show it too clearly. After a moment, she said, "Well, thank you for apologizing. I appreciate that." Aiden gave a small nod. Lena walked behind a group of trees and quickly changed into her clothes. When she returned, Aiden was sitting on a smooth rock near the water, looking out at the lake instead of watching her. She appreciated that. She approached cautiously. "Why are you still here?" she asked. He looked over and smiled gently. "I figured you'd want to yell at me again. I thought I should stay, in case you did." 1. Any 5. I have a Clive. Lena couldn't help but laugh softly. "I don't think yelling helps anymore." "Lena." He tilted his head. "So, you're not angry?" "I'm still annoyed," she admitted, "but not angry." "That's fair," he said. They stayed quiet for a moment. A light breeze rustled the leaves overhead, and a few birds flew across the shimmering surface of the lake. The world felt peaceful again, like the tension had faded and only curiosity remained. Aiden spoke first. "Do you want to sit?" Lena hesitated but eventually sat on a nearby rock, keeping a comfortable distance between them. She still didn't fully understand him, but she felt safe enough to stay. Aiden sat up straight, resting his hands on his knees. "Since I caused the problem," he said, "the least I can do is listen if you want to talk." Lena stared at the water for a while before answering. "It's just college stress," she said quietly. "Assignments, deadlines, people. It's been too much lately." He nodded slowly. "Nature has a way of helping with that. That's why I live out here more than in town." "You live here?" she asked, startled. "Not in the exact spot," he said with a small laugh. "But close. I grew up around Apache Ridge. My family has been here for generations. That must feel peaceful." "Most days, yes," he replied. "But it also gets lonely sometimes." Lena glanced at him. He didn't look lonely at all. He looked confident, steady, and comfortable in the world. But then she remembered what people often told her, that she looked calm even when she was overwhelmed inside. Maybe he wasn't that different. Aiden continued. "People think I enjoy being the one who guides others and solves their problems. But sometimes I just want someone to talk to. Someone real." Lena felt a small tug in her chest. It wasn't sympathy, more like recognition. She understood what it felt like to want someone to simply listen without judgment. "I didn't expect you to say that," she admitted. He looked at her gently. "People assume things based on what they see. But everyone has quiet days, heavy thoughts." She smiled faintly. "I guess so." Aiden watched her for a moment. "I know I started things in the wrong way," he said, "but I'm glad you stayed long enough to talk." "Honestly," Lena said with a soft laugh, "I think I stayed because I didn't know what to do next." "That's a good enough reason." The two of them sat in silence for a while, watching the sun drift lower in the sky. The warm light reflected on the lake like gold. Lena felt calmer than she had all week. Her heart felt lighter, and her thoughts were no longer rushing like they were earlier. After a few minutes, she stood up. "I should head back to my friends. I cassid, and in 10 piece." Aiden rose too. "Do you need help finding the trail?" "I can manage," she said with a smile. He nodded but didn't move away. Instead, he said something quietly, almost warmly. "Next time you want company at the lake, you can just ask." Lena blinked, caught off guard. His voice wasn't teasing now. It was gentle, sincere, almost hopeful. She swallowed lightly. "I'll think about that," she said. Aiden smiled, not the mischievous grin from earlier, but a soft, genuine smile that reached his eyes. As Lena walked back toward the campsite, she felt a strange flutter in her chest. She didn't fully understand what the day had become. It started with embarrassment and frustration, but ended with a peaceful conversation and a surprising connection. When her friends saw her returning, they asked where she had been. Lena simply smiled and said she found a quiet place to think. She didn't mention Aiden. Not yet. But as she settled back into the lively campsite, she couldn't stop replaying his last words in her mind. "Next time, just ask." And for the first time in a long while, she wondered if maybe, just maybe, someone unexpected could bring a little brightness into her life.